Bonjour à toutes et à tous. Bonjour Marie.
Hello everyone, hello Marie, hello Christian. We are happy to welcome you in Luxembourg today for this LSF 2022. It's a very special edition because we are finally meeting each other in the flesh, but we still have a live stream, of course, with all the people following us online. And we are also meeting in the frame of the Climat Expo here in Luxembourg. So I think that you have seen this video. I've seen it already, I had seen it before. We are finding ourselves in a time where we are being aware of what's happening in the environment. We're talking about security, not only when it comes to environment and ecology, but also in terms of politics and economy. And I think it was time for us to go from the emotional part of it that we just saw to motion, and this is the theme of this meeting, from emotion to motion. Yes, we are in the middle of a very acute time. Everything is moving, and we have a very concentrated amount of emotions. And thank you, Grégoire Bomberger, for your playing. And I see here in our public that you have seen these pictures and that you have had emotions, that very strong emotions. This movie by Frédéric Lillien was very moving, and we have to say, for example, that this summer was very strongly marked by climate change. We have seen extreme environmental events, and there is an acceleration of these changes, and it's linked to emotions, as we said. A recent study that was published last year says that 84% of younger people consider that they are being very anxious, very nervous when it comes to climate change. 84%, this is huge, and two-thirds of them in a French study have said that they are not convinced by working in a company that would not respect the environment. So we can see that this eco-anxiety is very strongly felt in society, especially by younger people. And it is a very strong wave that touches us, that really moves us, not only younger people and children, but all of them. And so not only the younger generation. And today we have decided to talk about it because what we have to understand is that very often this anxiety causes some sort of tetany, and people are stunned and do not act according to their beliefs. So the question that we have today is, how can we go from this tetany, from this stunned state, to real action? And this is exactly the theme of our forum, from emotion to motion. For a good start, we can maybe ask a question. And a lot of you are here today in this room, but also behind your screens. How do you feel when it comes to this anxiety we've talked about? Are you worried? Are you curious? Are you confident? Do you feel powerless? What is happening within you, within all of you, each of you, in such moments when you see these images? What we would like to do is to take the temperature, to try to analyze, to evaluate how people feel in Luxembourg. And can someone, can you tell me if you can see here on the screen you have a question? We have the Mentimeter, and it is possible for you. You have the possibility on your smartphone you see the address here on the screen, www.menti.com. With the code on the screen, you have the possibility to answer this question, the question being the decay of environment does create a feeling of anxiety for you. Are you anxious or not? Are you worried about the situation or not? You see, it's between 1 and 5, 5 being the highest level of anxiety, of worriness. So I see we have some people here trying to vote on their mobile phones, on their smartphones. Okay, Vanya tells me that, yes, it's working. People are answering. I'm trying to read the faces and the emotions. Very well. More votes. Some people showing me that they are understanding the question and answering. Yes, yes, okay, yes. I see people showing me their faces and their hands. Perfect. So there are a few questions that have been asked in the frame of a study about anxiety and environment. And this question here, a few thousand people have already answered this question in France. So what I'm going to ask you is to try to place yourself within this line of emotion. So if you're not anxious, if you're not worried at all, it's 1, that would be the lowest score, and 5 being the highest one, because you would be more stressed and more worried. So we see here 3.9 points for people in this room. Everybody has voted? Okay, very good. So 3.9. To give you a bit of a visual, the study I talked to you about in France with a few thousand people, the result was 3.78. So the people here in this room and the people behind their screens following us online are pretty close to the results of the study. So there will be another question also in this study. What emotion, what is the main emotion you feel when you think about the decay of our planet? What is the main emotion you feel when you think about the decay of our planet? So you see a couple of emotions written on the screen. There is sadness, there is feeling powerless, feeling angry, hopelessness, common problem, injustice, not understandable, urgency, anxious, terrible. So you have a number of words on the screen, and you see that the main words, the bigger ones, the bigger the words are written, the more votes they got. And you see that feeling powerless, feeling sad, feeling the feeling of urgency are really the strongest ones. So how can we start acting? How can you start doing something as a person? What is the power you have as an individual when it comes to the state of our planet? So if you think that you can really play a role in what you can do for our planet, that would be a 5. The stronger the higher the score. And if you feel completely powerless, then that would be a 1. So you see here 2.9, 2.8. You see that a lot of people feel that they can have some power in Luxembourg. Okay, 2.9 still. So that gives us some insight. We can see that we are a little bit in the middle. I'd say in the middle, because in France, people answered with an average of 1.52. So here we can see in Luxembourg that people are already active and have the feeling that what they do can really change things. Is that how I understand it? To understand this phenomenon, I'm going to present to you the program of this day. The first part of the forum will be about the analysis of this phenomenon and also what we can do to find solutions. We will start with Glenn Albrecht, an Australian philosopher, the one who defined the solastalgia. This is what we're going to talk about during this first presentation, and then there is it will be a very interesting presentation between a diagnosis of our society and a discussion around it. There will be also Science versus Emotions in the Post-Truth World by Stefan Lewandowski. He's a specialist when it comes to conspiracy theories and how people think. That will be the first part, and then we will speak a little bit more about companies and about business in general with John Ecklington, who's trying to talk about a boom in regenerative capitalism. These companies will be represented during the second part, and we'll talk about their experience and the different measures that they've taken to tackle the problem. Of course, later on, we will have to talk about adapting to tomorrow, exploring our own selves. So I can't say much about it because we're going to announce something quite important here in Luxembourg, and I can't tell you more, but we will have the pleasure to welcome an explorer and researcher. His name is Christian Clot, and he goes in very hostile environments to understand how humans adapt thanks to all kinds of experiences. A very strong testimony, you'll see. Of course, this type of events like the one we are organizing today, we cannot do everything by ourselves. So I would like to thank the sponsors of our event. There is the European Bank of Investment, there is Accenture, there is PricewaterhouseCoopers, the Société Générale, BNP Paribas, and so many others. Thank you very much. And of course, there is also the Ministry for Environment, Climate and Sustainable Development in Luxembourg. So we will have Mrs. Joëlle Welfring, who's going to introduce this event for you. She is the Minister for Environment. Thank you, Christian. Thank you, Marie. Hello, dear representative of the IMS, dear businesswomen, businessmen. Thank you very much for your presence. So we have seen very strong images here. We know this reality. We have experienced it together. And all of us, it doesn't matter where we are. We just have to go through the door to understand this change, to see it and to see that we find ourselves in a very different era. We have seen fires in the United States, in Portugal, in Australia. We have seen ecosystems completely destroyed, natural resources just vanish in a matter of seconds. We have seen everywhere in Europe rivers that are completely dried. And we have seen at the same time in Pakistan 33 million people that have been displaced because of floods, incredible floods, and there are also thousands more that have perished or that have disappeared. So if we say that these are exceptions, it's not true, because we have seen last year it was exactly the same thing. We saw the fires in Australia, we've seen floods in Germany, so we can see that the list is really long. So why do we have to talk about it? Because there is one reality between all these events. There is a change in climate, there is a decay of the environment because of our activity, human activity. And what is really distressful is to see how fast everything is changing. So what can we do against it? We can't have this tetany. We have to act, we have to do something. And of course, it's easy to think that Luxembourg is a very small country and that we do not have the possibility to do much. But it's not true. I am absolutely convinced that you're also convinced that we can do a lot for climate and environment. Luxembourg has been built by individuals who have worked to overcome challenges, to renew themselves. They have shown ability and courage in order to build a country. And I believe it is exactly the same way that sustainable development in Luxembourg is our future, is on our shoulders. And when I say our shoulders, I mean also the businesses and the entrepreneurs. And I am absolutely convinced that we can do it more than ever. We have to. If only a couple degrees Celsius can do so much in a couple generations, in one generation, then we can also make a difference. This is why we are here today. This is why I am here today. Thank you very much for listening to it. Happy birthday to the IMS. We have to think about it too. And thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much for your action.